Hello again, everyone, and thank you for joining me for another live video in honor of Giving Tuesday. I'm excited to announce that just this morning, we've already raised $4,575 towards our $15,000 match goal. Thank you to all of you who've already given, and there's still time to give until midnight tonight. Help us reach that $15,000 goal. Right now, I'm going to be joined by Jason Drucker, one of our board members, and Susan Teller. Susan Teller lost her husband, Dr. Donald Austin, in 2018 from ALS. Don may have passed away, but he'll always be remembered as a public health rock star, a professor, a pioneer, a dancer, a loving husband, and so much more. I'm going to turn this conversation now over to Jason to introduce himself and his connection with ALS, and to talk to Susan about her passion for giving back and making a difference.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Susan, for being here today. As Stephanie mentioned, my name is Jason Drucker. I'm a board member with the ALS Association, the chapter in Southwest Washington and Oregon. And very, very happy to be here to talk to you, Susan, to hear more about your story and journey and talk about fundraising and making an impact on the fight to defeat ALS. So why don't we start? I came to way of the ALS Association. My father was diagnosed in 2016 and unfortunately passed in 2018, and was just a journey that I think everybody that's been through it can kind of compare notes on. But was very supported by the ALS Association and also very motivated to continue the fight after my father died. Knowing how difficult it was for us to navigate and seeing how difficult it is for others to navigate and wanting to make an impact. And Susan, I know you've led us on that as well. So maybe why don't you introduce yourself and talk about what brings you to this cause?
I am so lucky to be part of this ALS group because they made me feel as part of the family when I was going through something so incredibly hard. So I don't even think of my family anymore as just my family. Now I'm part of this larger ALS community. And it is so significant what you go through when a loved one is diagnosed with ALS. And my husband was a physician and very brilliant, yet he was misdiagnosed for a number of months, like happens to many ALS patients. And we were so blessed to meet Lance, who came over to our house just as we were getting the appropriate diagnosis. And able to engulf us in these incredible people. And the incredible people included the medical care providers, but it also included everyone who was part of this group. And my heart will always be there.
That's amazing. You talk about the services that the ALS Association brings to bear and how that can help with the journey and how difficult the journey of just getting to diagnosis can be. But you go through what can feel like a sprint at times. It can feel like a marathon at other times of bringing the right care at the right moment. I found the association to be a wonderful group to invest time into because of this kind of three-pronged mission, this idea of raising funds for research to try to find a cure, but also meeting families where they were today with services that help them navigate a very difficult disease, and then finally advocating for us at a national and state level to try to unlock opportunities for additional care. And that mission helped my family. It sounds like it did for you and Don as well. But then I'm always amazed with people because it's so exhausting, the journey. It is, the amount of care that you have to bring to bear. But you've stayed so involved and you're a star in your own right in helping to raise awareness and funds. But what motivates you to do that?
Well, part of it was the care that I got when I was doing the caring of my husband. So, the ALS Association doesn't just take care of you from a medical point of view. It was psychological. It was meeting other people who were also caregiving to their loved ones. And I learned so much from them. I thought, I'm a retired attorney. I know I'm smart, but that doesn't mean I know how to do a caregiver's role. And because of ALS, I kind of got that a lot more than I would have in any other way. Couldn't read a book for that kind of thing. You could only get it from watching other people actually do it.
Right.
Staying involved after Don has passed is because I know how important it is to the families, and I know how important it is to our society that we put an emphasis on taking care of these diseases when we know we have the smarts, we know we have the doctors, we know we have the researchers, but we have to have the money. And so that's got to come for that research and for advocating for people with ALS.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, the money plays such a massive part of it, but also it feels like sometimes just focus and awareness. And you're playing an important role in that today. Just talking about how underserved families living with ALS are, even with the amazing support of an organization like the ALS Association, we still need more. And I think one of the things that always resonates with me is how even though the number of people diagnosed with ALS is very small relative to other diseases, the impact it makes on society is, probably 10x that, because it really takes a village to support the person and family living with ALS. Um, and so the advocacy is, in some ways just as important to get us to focus on finding that cure, focus on changing the laws so that it's easier to access that. And I'm struck by your comment about the months. My father also went through months of misdiagnosis before arriving to it, and not meant as a criticism of doctors, because it's such a difficult diagnosis, a diagnosis of exclusion.
Right.
So that can be very, very challenging.
I
Um,
was here in I don't mean to cut you off, Jason, but I'm sure you found this too. In the Portland area, we are so blessed with great medical care and the associated activities that they need. But I know I would be waiting for one of our appointments, and there'd be people from all over the state of Oregon who relied on the ALS Association because we cover the whole state in Southwest Washington. And without us, that whole huge community of Oregon and South Washington wouldn't have this kind of real care that you need for somebody and the families going through ALS.
that's totally true. Totally true. Well, you are a rock star in the community, Susan, and so I am excited to hear about the ways that you support. And I have two goals. One is to learn more about your journey of supporting the association and raising funds and awareness. But also, I get the questions a lot from people about, they speak kind of admiringly, like, it's amazing the impact Susan is making. But to a certain extent, they're also saying, I don't know how to do it myself. And so I'm curious, what have you done to raise funds and awareness? And what would your advice be to those folks that want to contribute?
Well, part of it is letting people give. I mean, giving is, and I'm Jewish, and it's a mitzvah to be able to give. And so you're really doing a service when you're able to give. So, it's not like you're asking for money, you're giving people the opportunity to help a community and to help a really important issue. And so for me, I also handled talking about this with my neighbors, all these people who love Don and who care about humanity. And so even the little boy next door raised $1,000
Wow.
LS, this little 7-year-old. And it was because he wanted to do something with his feelings about missing Don. So what did he do? He called all of his relatives and got $1,000.
That's
And
amazing.
he walked around with the T-shirt that says ALS on it, and very proud. So what was that? That was a gift that child got by being able to give. And if you see giving like that, you realize that it's really enhancing your life and enhancing the life of the people that you're helping.
That's a wonderful answer. The opportunity to give is a mitzvah. It is an opportunity to help people see how to do that, because it's not always obvious. And the association tries to make it a little bit easier by having some events. What are some of your favorite events or ones that you participate in?
Well, the walk, I love the walk, and I know this last year we weren't able to do it, and so we had that virtual walk. But the
Right.
prior to that, or the 3 years that we were involved prior to that, the energy and whether somebody, my husband was very competitive, so he got in his wheelchair the year before he died, and he wanted to be the first one on the other side of the race. So I mean, fun to keep up with him because he figured out really fast in his wheelchair. So I think the walk I will always have such fond feelings toward. And then there's a lot of different things the ALS Society does, association does. Like we had a wonderful get together after the fundraising to acknowledge the people who gave money and
Mm.
who raised money, and that sense of community of other people like us who want to raise money for this group. So it was very warm, and people told the stories of their lives. And so it was really like acknowledging the givers. and that was nice too.
Yeah, that's very nice. I think you're right to call out the community because it can feel overwhelming while you're going through the journey. I've likened it to feeling like you're standing on quicksand because every day changes. But we've all been through similar, so, differences obviously, but we've been through experiences like that, and it is an opportunity to have lasting connection after that, and to pour some of our heartbreak, but our hope into future events. And you've done such a great job with that. It is so appreciated.
The other
Um,
thing is that Don and I before were both on the radio together, and we did a radio show with some of the staff with ALS Association, and that was just wonderful because then people got to hear about this who normally wouldn't hear about it at all. I'm so sorry, I don't remember the details of the radio show because it's been now a couple of years. But people came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, I heard you on the radio, and you were talking about."
wow.
And the more we can get it out to bigger groups, the more people will contribute because they'll understand how important it is.
I think that's right. The awareness, I think when you get immersed in anything, you for a while can feel like everybody knows this or everybody's heard of this.
Right.
But the fact is, it's still largely unknown by so many people. So that awareness is so critical.
But we
Um,
went. Another thing we did is we went down to the capital of Oregon, which is Salem, and I went with Lance and a group of other people from the ALS community, and we got a acknowledgement of having 1 month every year being an ALS awareness month. And we went and we presented our case in front of a committee, and it won the vote, and it was
that's
wonderful.
awesome. That's
That
so
was
great. What month is that? Do you know offhand?
no, not offhand. Oh, Mitch. I think it was Mitch Greenlick.
May. Stephanie's chimed in and said
Oh,
it's
what
the
month?
month of May.
Okay. I thought you
That's
meant
wonderful.
Mitch Greenlick, who passed away last year. Um, I think it was one of the ones who we presented it to his committee. Uh, yes, it was for May. May is awareness, and we got to go watch a wonderful governor sign it into effect.
Awesome. What an experience. So, you've talked a little bit about, all the ways in which the fight to defeat ALS is being waged, if you will. You have been incredibly generous with your time and in dollars. What do you hope comes out of that directly? If you were kind of wagering on outcomes, what would you be hopeful for in the short term?
Well, I guess it's two different ways. One of that's finding a cure and the research arm, but the other is helping each family. I mean, we really need to help the families that are going through this and the community around them. So my hope is that we continue to be able to do what we've been doing. And the only way we can do that is by giving.
That's right. That's
And so,
right. It's amazing when I think about just the modifications that have to happen to somebody's home,
goodness,
and potentially the home needing to be changed in some cases if it's lots of stairs or and those kind of modifications can become very, very difficult for families to do on their own. um, so I think you're absolutely right to call that out. um,
yes. And again, I mean, the association hooked us up with exactly the right people. We modified our house, and then Don didn't have to go through moving on top of dealing with ALS. So,
right. I kind of think back to that journey. My father was in Florida actually, and we relocated them to Oregon. Probably too late because he had been diagnosed incorrectly. I think a lot about what I hope families will experience differently
mhm.
um, if they have to go through this. What do you hope that families that will be going through one of the worst diagnoses you can get, but how would you make that more hopeful for them?
Well, I think the ALS Association does it really well. One of the activities that I was going to also talk about is a trip to the zoo. I mean, it looks like something so no big deal, but it's a huge deal to have people in their wheelchairs and their kids and their grandkids with them with such a normal kind of thing of going to the zoo and organizing an event like that. I mean, it, it's it's so healing in your soul.
Yes,
Like
a
by
little bit of normal for a day.
yes,
Yeah, I can totally appreciate that. Um, so, when talking about ALS, sometimes it can feel like you're wallowing in, you know, just bad topics or sad topics, right? We're talking about loved ones that have passed, but there is so much hope, right? Every day there's additional potential treatments, whether it's life extending or hopefully curative. There are new tools that
Right.
allow people living with ALS to lead a higher quality of life. What are you hopeful about in this fight?
Well, even during the time that Don had it, and probably with your father too, there was a new drug that came out that kind of extended Don's life and gave him a better quality. And that was just invented, what, like 4 years ago. So, I mean, every year there's a possibility for things to come out that are new and will improve people's lives. And the ventilators that we had at home, I mean, they were just wonderful. He was able to breathe and still be in this home environment. And so that made a huge difference. So it's the physical comfort, but it's also actually changing lives by inventing these drugs that are really extending people's lives and hopefully someday will eliminate the disease.
Yes, yes, I'm very hopeful of that too. But I do think about the quality of life. So my father, from misdiagnosis, but to when he passed, was just about 2 years, and so I think about the quality of life in that 2 years, and it'd be amazing if 2 years could become 4 years, or four
Yeah.
years can become 8 years, or forever. That'd
Yeah.
be amazing. But I do think about the difficulty of using a Hoyer lift, for example, for him. And each little technology increment can make such a huge difference. And I had an opportunity to meet with somebody that was adopting an eye tracking software for using their computer. And it was amazing. It was like freedom for them. And whether that was going to be a day, a month, a year, it was such an upgrade in their quality of life. And those kind of innovations are being brought to bear constantly, and only because of the effort that you're making to raise awareness and funding. Um, that's what leaves me hopeful, is that the days can be higher quality,
Yeah.
day
And
in,
Jason,
day out.
hope that people like you were on the board because you are obviously very engaged and engaging. And thank you so much for being a board member. We all really appreciate it.
Well, it's an honor, really. I mean, the team there, the Lance and the entire team he's assembled is in my mind, like a dream team tackling this mission. I get to have a front row seat, is really what it's about. But I get to see the care they're bringing, the efforts to make fundraising not difficult. Right? Stephanie does such an amazing job. Emily Rose emceeing the latest virtual gala
Oh, Gala,
was
that was
so fun.
fun. That
It
was so
was.
clever, the gala with delivering food to people and delivering wine to their house so that you could sit around and bid on things and feel really great about contributing funds and being part of a big group. It was
Yes.
wonderful.
I totally agree. Well, so if somebody's watching this today, Susan, and they're kind of on the fence, either to give or to invest their time to help us fundraise, what would you say to them?
Do both. That there's no reason you can give no matter how much it is. I mean, for some people, giving $100 is not hard, and for some people, $10 might be hard. But give that $10 or that $100, whatever you could give, and then put in your time. Volunteer for the walks, volunteer for any of the activities, and you're going to get more out of it than you think. I mean, you will really feel that you have made an impact on people and an impact on yourself, that you've been such a contributor.
Yeah, I think that is really well said. It's interesting, and sometimes you forget yourself. But if I'm being selfish, being a part of this is wonderful. I love being a part of it, and it does mean something to me. And I feel enriched by the connections to people like yourself and others, and the opportunity to make a change. It isn't charity; it is about the opportunity that I'm being afforded to do that. And I think that's a wonderful perspective for anybody who's thinking about giving their time. It isn't a burden; it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Uh, that's great. Well, Susan, it has been wonderful to meet you. And I'm sure now that we've made the connection, we'll see each other at events, and I look forward to that.
Me
Have I
too.
missed anything? Anything that you'd like to comment on?
No, other than thank you very much. And thank you to all of the people who will be contributing. We're going to get money in the door today.
Awesome. That's exactly right. Well, thank you, Susan. Thank you for your time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.